Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of Drive My Car.
I watched the second half of Drive My Car.
And this
Is the other half. Got the Oscar fever. Got it too.
I always forget about that song every year.
I love that song. Pour me some bubbling out. It's all I gotta do.
Man, the Oscars keep getting less and less viewership. Maybe they should bring back songs like that.
Yeah,
and that's
baby.
what it is. They
bring
gotta
back
have...
that. Bring back Billy Crystal doing blackface. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing. The two most
that
memorable
happened
parts.
within our lifetime. He did blackface in the Oscars in our lifetime.
I do.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
What year was that?
It was the year that
And
Midnight
why?
in Paris came out.
Oh.
He did. He was doing because he was known for his Sammy Davis Jr. impersonation, and so Midnight in Paris came out, and there was a pre-show where it's like, hey, let's make fun of all the movies, and he was acting like Sammy Davis Jr. in blackface, going like, hey, and like. You know, it was just like, well, this seems fucking weird. Can't do that shit anymore, my man.
Probably couldn't do it back then, but whatever.
But yeah, definitely can't do it now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Oscar season.
Oscar season, yeah.
We're talking about Oscar movies. Our last Oscar movie we'll be talking about.
Yes.
That we're watching for the podcast.
Yes.
That we're watching in half. The 3-hour epic.
The 3-hour epic.
Drive My Car.
Yeah,
a movie that I had no fucking clue. The only thing I knew about this movie is a car was going to appear at some point.
At some point,
film.
someone was going to be driving a car.
That's all
I don't
knew
know
that,
who.
and I knew that at one point someone was going to hang a cigarette out of a moonroof because I saw an image of that.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. I'm into this film. Let's
All
see
right.
what happens. And so, yeah, that's all I knew. I was like,
yeah.
is this going to be a horror movie? Is this going to be like a comedy?
Nah, man. It's just fucking vibes and creepy undertones.
Very
or disturbed undertones, I suppose.
Very sad, very solemn film. Very
Yeah.
meditatively quiet and blue. Melancholy.
Yeah. It's a very slow movie.
Very slow. Pump the gas a little bit.
Pump the gas a little bit. Yeah, no, this movie's just cruising.
No,
it's on
it
cruise
is
control
just cruising.
on the right lane. It's not on the left lane. It's on the very right lane going slow. It's like, I'm going to turn off at some point.
I'll get there when I get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to let you take in all the details of the scenic route that we're taking.
Exactly.
So you really get the full picture of where we're going.
Yes. I didn't. I only got half of it.
You only got half. Yeah, that's true. I mean, my journey was cut short. The gas ran out, and I had to get out.
I'm so curious because like there's an entire film before my film.
Oh, yeah.
Before my half, and that's weird to think about.
There's a lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot. This is a big movie. It's an epic.
It is an epic film.
I feel like we don't get. I mean, it's not epic, right? Because epics are like almost 4 hours long.
Right.
Those don't exist
Intermission.
anymore.
No.
We really just have these kind of. This is probably the longest movie besides what? This is beating Batman. This is probably a little longer than Batman. Nymphomaniac had 2 parts though. I don't know if that counts.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, this was. It's weird. Kind of hard to put my finger on where this movie lies in the genre. Place.
I think it's just drama, right? Just straight drama.
It does feel. It does kind of feel like a stage play in a lot of ways. Which
makes sense.
Which makes sense because the movie does take place around
a performance of Uncle Vanya.
Uncle Vanya, a Chekhov play.
Chekhov play. Was there a gun at any point?
There was no gun at any point. Chekhov's cigarette? Chekhov's car.
Chekhov's car.
Chekhov's car.
That's right. If a car is introduced, it must be driven.
It must be driven. And you know what? It was.
Yeah. Have you ever read Chekhov?
No,
I only know about the gun.
I did. Yeah, I didn't. I did look up the play a little bit to get kind of the backstory of what the play was because I was not familiar with it.
Me neither.
And yeah, okay, yeah, I could see how it's very similarly paralleled to this movie.
I genuinely don't know.
You really don't know? Oh
No.
man, that's great. I got all these little cards. That's the thing is, I'm so curious because I feel like so much of this movie is reserved because the main character is very reserved.
Yeah,
and does not really
doesn't
explain things. He likes to keep things held back a lot.
He's internalized.
And so I feel like the movie's not going to tell you shit in the second half. Like there are so many things I know that you probably don't know.
I think there's things I know that you don't know.
Well, yeah, because it's the second half of the movie. For once, the first half holds all the cards.
Yeah,
or holds some
holds
cards.
a lot of cards, I think.
Holds a couple cards.
Because he does a lot of my half of the movie is him explaining a lot of context, though, because of his driver Watari.
Yes, I believe that's her name. Let me scroll down quite a bit. Masaki? Masaki? That's what I said? I wrote down Masaki. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever. The driver. The two of them have a lot of conversations about their past and their history.
Oh,
so
okay.
some things are explained.
Oh, Atari's her last name. So
Yeah.
that's probably what it's
Yeah.
called that.
Anyway.
I guess some things are explained probably, yeah. Huh.
But anyway, I'm curious about the shit in your half because again, I feel like I got a complete film.
That's interesting because
Yeah.
I got a little mini film and then half of a film.
What does that mean?
You'll see. So we start off with a silhouette of a lady. She wakes up and you don't see her face. She's naked and she's talking to someone in bed.
Oh.
And it is Otto. Otto, excuse me, not Otto.
Otto. Driving
two
cars, baby.
Yeah, he sleeps with an automobile. It's
Yeah,
very weird.
that's
And the
what it's
automobile
about.
sits up naked and talks to him.
You could see the muffler.
Much different.
The
You couldn't. It was obscured.
Yeah.
It was a
that's
very
fair.
tasteful silhouette of an Otto.
Otto.
Otto. So
Yeah.
she's talking about. She tells a whole story. So what she does is she's a script writer, basically, for a
Yes.
television station, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
She
so
writes
she's talking
screenplays.
to our main character who's named Yusuke,
Mm-hmm.
and she tells a story.
See, they call him Kafuku.
That's probably his last name.
Yeah,
So it's
all right.
probably his like. I assume. I think in Japanese culture, I could be wrong, but this is my assumption
Mhm.
is that the last name is you call them last name formally, and then when you get to know the person, you can say their first name.
Oh,
sort
I
of
see,
thing. So,
okay.
but most people, it's like much more like a longer.
Everyone
term.
was talking to each other in last name, so
Pretty much that's how it goes. I'm pretty
Right.
sure, unless you're like really, 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 really close to the person.
I see. Which these two sound like they're very close.
Sounds like they're very, very close.
Yeah.
Well, one's naked, so actually they're both naked. So I feel like they're pretty close to that point.
All right.
Maybe not, but they are. So she's telling a story about like, hey, so I got this story about a girl who sneaks into a 17-year-old boy's house, and she's like
Yes.
super horny. And of course,
She's obsessed with him.
she's obsessed. She's telling the story like very detailed. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
But
But
basically,
every time she sneaks in the house, she leaves a little part of
well,
herself.
we didn't get to that part yet.
Oh, okay.
She's basically right now she's just sneaking in the house and has a
This is
code.
exciting
It
because
has
this
a
is something
code.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He has a code to not sneak in and she has a code to not sneak in and jerk off because she wants to masturbate so badly.
You're right. She wants to masturbate in his
in his
bedroom.
room.
Yeah.
Real
bad.
He's like, why don't you show that? And she's like, no, it's because she
television.
limits herself.
Oh, yeah.
He asks if it's television. It's like, no, it's because she limits herself. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably television too. But yeah, it's like a
Probably
challenge.
like not show masturbation, but you could sort of like
Imply
under the sheets.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. What happened next?
And then they're driving in the car because he's
Okay.
dropping
Is
her
it a red
off.
car?
Yeah, it's the red car.
Oh boy.
It's the red car. And she's talking about like, yeah, so she starts leaving stuff at his place. She leaves a tampon in his room to like freak out his overprotective mom, and she's like really gets hot on this. She's a real kinky lady.
Right.
Eventually she puts her underwear in there.
Uh-huh.
And then anyway, she gets dropped off at her place of work,
Mhm.
and Yusuke then drives off, and we realize he's in a play for Waiting for Godot.
Oh yes, I love Waiting for Godot. Who's he playing?
I don't know.
Godot.
Not Godot. It's playing one of the two guys. I don't know.
That's right.
And she goes and sees him
Mhm.
and is like good job and everything, see him after the play. And he's like, I brought
Right.
this guy over,
Mhm.
Takasuski. He's
I know him.
you probably do know him.
Yeah.
He is an actor from the studio that I think he works on the scripts that she writes. Like he's the actor though, and he's like a big part, like a heartthrob kind of guy.
Yeah. He's
much
a
younger.
He's not a very good actor though. Is the thing.
Oh, he's not? Okay. That makes sense. He was very impressed by Yusuke's performance.
Right.
And he's just like, I just want to learn. Like, I think you're a really good actor. He's like, oh, cool. Okay.
Oh man, this is so exciting.
And then he leaves.
This is giving me so much context.
It does?
Yes.
I'm sure it does.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure it does.
Okay, keep going, baby.
Um,
Oh, I'm so excited. Rev up those engines,
I'm
baby.
trying. I got to get to my spot. So he goes home and
Mm-hmm.
Odo records the lines for Yusuke. So he has this tape recorder that he like records, and she reads the lines
Yes.
for like whatever play he's going to do next.
Mhm.
And so he's going to do Uncle Vanya next. It sounds like he's going to be playing it.
He's gonna be playing Uncle Vanya.
Mhm. So he recites the lines. So he gets in the car. She gives it to him. He's like, I'll see you later. And he's like, I got to go to flight. So he catches a flight and he gets to the place. He's listening on the whole way, the tape there, trying to
Mhm.
take in all the lines and everything.
Right. He's trying to memorize
Trying
the
to-
cadence.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then Yusuke gets there, and as soon as he arrives, he gets his luggage out, and it's just like, oh, the flight's been delayed the next day. And
Oh
they're
no.
like, damn, well, you got a place for a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You could stay there. And he's like, well, I'm not that far from home. So he goes home and enters the room, and he sees his wife banging Takasuki.
That's right.
Wife/girlfriend. So you do know
Slash
this.
girlfriend.
Well, it's not. I don't know if they're married.
They're
'cause-
married.
Okay, because at one point he says wife, and she's like, "Don't say that." That made me
Their
imply.
their relationship's a little bit rocky, but
Okay.
they are married.
Okay.
And yes, I do know about this.
Okay.
This is so interesting.
I was wondering if you would ever speak about this.
Well, it's spoken, but I thought it was revealed in my half, not that it was already known. And I'll go into exactly. What I mean.
Interesting. No,
Yeah.
he know. That's the thing is he knows, and he basically is like has this card with him the whole time.
Oh, how
and
interesting.
he just leaves. He doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything.
Make
yeah.
a noise about it.
That's right.
Goes outside.
Why doesn't he say anything? Why doesn't he?
He doesn't want to ruin what he has, I guess.
That's right. You're exactly right.
think that's
He doesn't
it.
want to break what's going on because
Like-
clearly it's working.
Yeah, it's
Whatever's
fine.
happening is working.
Yeah, he smokes a cigarette and
Mhm.
leaves, goes back to the hotel where he gets a free stay,
Yeah.
and calls her on Skype, and everything's perfectly normal. He acts normal, asks like the standard questions, like, "Oh, did you arrive?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here totally." So then a week later passes, and he's still listening to
The
the radio, and he's driving, but he gets in a minor car accident. Like the car gets hit, he misses something. It looks like he doesn't see a car coming and makes a right turn.
Okay.
He goes into the doctor's office, and he's fine, but they're like, "Okay, we did some checks on you. Just to let you know, you have glaucoma now."
What does that mean?
So glaucoma, for those who don't know,
I
it
don't.
means it's basically you basically can't see certain parts out of your eye. Your periphery doesn't work as well. So
Oh,
you've
I
done those
see.
tests at the doctor's office where they like look at a dot and then click the button to see like if things are squiggling around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the test.
I
is kinda
always
see
pass that test.
Exactly, because you probably don't have glaucoma.
Yeah.
But that's a
I'm
good-
really good at that
that's-
test. I practice all the
Do
time.
you don't just look at the squiggly lines, do you?
No. I'm looking everywhere, baby.
Oh, no! You might not be passing the test. Anyway,
Yeah.
so basically that's what happened but they caught it fairly early, so it's in its early stages, but they're basically like, you can still drive, but there's no cure for glaucoma. We don't know exactly
It's
how
gonna
it
get
happens.
worse.
Here's some eye drops to reduce the pressure, which does slow the roll.
Right.
And yeah, so it does that. He's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do that. So he's like less inclined to drive the car now. But
right.
then
He needs somebody to drive the car for him.
exactly. So
Yes.
then it's revealed that they both have had a kid who
Yes.
died in
Yes.
2001.
Yes. The kid
And-
would have been 23 at this point.
And they're honoring their kid.
Yeah.
At like I guess the temple,
Uh-huh.
and she has to drive him home, and he's like, "I hate your driving. I can't stand it." And they just have a conversation.
He doesn't like her driving.
He doesn't like her driving. He doesn't like the way she drives.
I see.
And he's like,
So particular.
yeah, she's like, "Do you want kids again?" And he's like, "Well, why should I want something that you don't want? Why would I even like, put that in my mind?" I'm like,
Damn.
"Damn, okay, all right."
Have a conversation, guys.
Yeah.
Go to counseling.
They did have a conversation. It ended bad.
yeah. A real conversation.
So then they smash. But
Uh-huh.
things get funky at the end. She doesn't seem to get off. He kind of seems to get off. I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But then she brings up the story again. She starts talking about the story.
Yeah.
And like she's like asleep. Like he's basically asleep at this point.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Hey, so remember that story?" So the girl wakes up and she realizes that she was a lamprey in previous life.
What does that mean?
Well, lamprey it's funny because actually right after this he looks it up what it is because he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't know what it meant.
Lamprey's like those fish that like grab on other fish and suck on them.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So basically like parasitic fish
parasite.
kind of
Yeah,
in a
okay.
way. But yeah, so she's telling this whole story about this girl and how she basically goes in the room and just does start masturbating, and she's super horny in this part and starts banging our boy Yusuke here while telling the story at the same time. And she comes and he's like barely awake. He's like, "What the fuck is happening?" He's like not really into it. He's just like hanging out there.
Man,
Um,
must still be hard at least.
I guess,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, so he goes and looks at the lampreys the next day, and Odo asks, like, "Do you remember the story?" And he's like, "Not really. I was sleepy," but he's lying because obviously he's looking it up.
Right.
He's looking up the lamprey. So then the next day, he's sitting in the car talking to himself, trying to like read his lines, and it's like a part in Uncle Vanya, which is basically like, "I'm really upset all the time. I'm really
Mhm.
sad. I feel very depressed." And it's like
Oh.
reading those lines, it's like, oh, he's just basically talking to us now. It's just
Right.
telling us how he feels.
Right.
Obviously, he's not going to say that. It's almost like he only can communicate his stuff and emotions through acting,
Through fake.
through
Fakery.
fake acting. Yeah, exactly.
Later on, he has a line because he has a line about this, and he's like, I can't perform because later on he's directing Uncle Vanya, but he's not performing in it,
Mhm.
and he says like, I can't perform Chekhov because it brings something out of me.
He's too dark.
It drags the real him out.
That's very
And
true.
it's like, there you go.
Anyway, he's trying to do it, and so it seems like he's really reflecting how unhappy he is, and then he goes home to find Odo on the floor, not responding. She had a cerebral hemorrhage, and she's dead.
Whoa.
Very quickly, you're just like, oh, okay. I don't know where this movie's going now.
I knew about Otto. I didn't realize she was in your half of the movie at all. I thought she was there. She was long dead. So
nope.
You see that.
You see that.
Yeah.
And he goes to the funeral, and Takasuki appears. Very weird vibes, but doesn't make it weird. He just is quiet.
Yeah, he's a good guy,
he's
right?
A good guy.
He's a great guy. Nothing bad he does. He doesn't do a damn bad thing in this whole movie, does he?
Then he goes on and keeps acting. He's acting in the Uncle Vanya play, and he's just like goes off to the side and like just starts bawling during the part where he needs to anyway. But it's just like you can tell it's like really taking a toll on him.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in the car, and he's like, I gotta drive to Hiroshima Art Center.
Why?
Because he has a residency, but you don't know that because now we get 40 minutes into the movie, the credits play, and you finally get the intro of the movie.
That's the kind of fucking bravery I love to see.
I knew you were gonna love that part.
I love that shit.
I was like, man, that's a long intro. It's like a mini movie, right?
That's where the movie begins, right there.
That's where the movie begins.
All that shit was pretext.
That was just pretext.
That's fucking exciting. I love it.
I knew you'd
Throw
love that.
Throw that fucking title card anywhere you want. That's
it's
what
fun.
I'm talking about.
Have a little fun with the title card.
Yeah.
Like do a real like title card, whatever. 10 minutes, bullshit. Go 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You want it to be
you are into the movie.
You want it to be an episode of Prestige TV.
Yes.
That's how long you
fucking
basically
Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
So anyway,
you know me so well.
I know.
You do.
I know exactly who'd love that
shit.
shit. You suck that shit up.
Yeah, fuck me over that.
I know you love. I know you love how that one silent movie opens.
Yes.
I can't think of the
Safety
name.
Last.
Safety Last.
Love Safety Last. I showed Ethan the opening of
like
Safety Last.
That's the first 5 minutes. Or first like five, like, I don't know, what, minute?
Like literally first minute of
First
Safety
minute.
Last. That is cinema.
That is cinema.
That is
or
what
you
I'm
have
talking
40 minutes of Drive My Car. That is
about.
cinema.
Cinema.
Anyway, so he has a residency about 2 months at Hiroshima Art Center to direct.
Uncle Vanya.
Yes, is he? I don't think he's like a full director. Maybe he is. It sounds like he might be. Maybe he's just a casting director. I think.
He is
he's
directing.
Yeah,
he's full on directing the performance. Yeah.
So he picked a place, which is weird. I thought he picked a place to live about an hour away from the place. I'm like, why did you pick a hotel that far away?
Because he likes to drive.
He likes to drive and he likes to practice his tapes. It turns out, but here's the thing: by policy, the place they're hosting him at won't let him drive
because of the glaucoma.
No.
Oh.
Not even because of that. It's because an artist one time like caused an accident, like hit someone, and they were liable for it. So they're like, we can't have anyone like driving.
That is so funny because this same thing, it comes back.
Oh, really?
Later on.
Okay.
This is very fun.
Interesting.
Okay, this is very.
So, he's like, fine, whatever. I don't really want to do this at all. And she's like, don't worry, we'll introduce driver. They're one of the best.
Yes.
And
Watari.
Yes. So I'm trying to think where she's. Okay, so they introduce him to her, and she's like, "What the fuck?" Or he's like, "What the fuck? You're like a young lady," and she's like, "Or you can't drive my car because it's like an old car." And she's like, "I'm a young lady, but that's fine. I could drive it."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and I'm like, why don't they give him a specific car? And then I realize it's because he listens to cassettes, right? And cassettes, you can't buy a car nowadays with a cassette player.
You need a car. With
you
a
need
cassette
an old
player.
car.
Yeah.
He's like, fine, whatever. So he gives a test run. I was like, you can, find a new driver or something, but at least try it. So she drives. She's absolutely quiet, follows 100% of his directions. He practices in the car. It's fine. He's like, cool. We'll meet you next time in the morning to pick you up. So then.
Does she try smoking in the car that he like hates it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Because
she's too polite and professional for that.
That's right. She's very quiet and professional. And
so he then goes and does the casting job, and there's all these auditions, and of course Takasuki's there to audition for the role.
That's right.
Of one of the younger guys, not Vanya, because Vanya's old.
No, I'm pretty sure he's playing Vanya.
Well, he's not auditioning for Vanya.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
He's auditioning for a younger role with another lady who speaks English and is from Taiwan. And I think her
right,
first
but
language
they can't speak any language together. She
doesn't speak Japanese. I think she speaks Mandarin.
Yeah, Mandarin and English.
Yes, there are two languages.
He can't speak either of those.
So there's like a translation. Also, I forgot to mention the other guy, Uni. He's like the assistant director.
Is he the guy with the big chin?
He's got long hair.
Okay,
he's kind of got long hair,
kind of eyebrows.
Yeah. He's from Korea, and so he knows like he could translate in Korean and anything like that. So he's also helping with like the language. And I
Right.
believe the director Yusuke can speak English and Japanese. Well, of course he can speak Japanese. I'm thinking of. I'm sorry. I'm going to Uni, who can speak Mandarin, Korean, Korean Sign Language,
Mm-hmm.
and English.
Yes.
So he's just like a whole bunch. I'm like, wow, that's really impressive.
So sign language isn't like she's not deaf.
She's not.
Okay.
She just can't speak.
Oh, she's mute.
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
so she can
okay.
hear.
I see. Okay.
But yeah. So anyway, they're doubling up on auditions because like some people wanted the same scene, so they're like, okay, might as well get you in there. So Takasugi works with that other lady I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
and they do the scene, and he's very aggro. He even
Yeah.
like kisses her, and I'm like, that feels weird to do in
An
audition.
Yeah.
Like really aggressive, like grabs her and shit.
yeah.
And Yusuke seems upset by this. Like enough. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And then the last person who comes in is a lady who speaks using Korean Sign Language,
Mhm.
which falls back earlier to us in Coda, where we're like, is American Sign Language like all everywhere? And it's like, no, there's Korean versions.
I said it wasn't.
No, you're right. I said that. I was like, is it the universal? It's like, no, of course not, because it's such a
Yeah.
different like.
All
it's-
languages are different.
All languages are very different.
I was thinking this too. I don't know if you mentioned it in Coda. We kind of went over it, but like sign language is such a cinematic language.
Mm-hmm.
You can't show sign language in like books or
There's no audiobooks of sign language.
Yeah, it's like it's really only like obviously like television and film. Like
Mhm.
it's such a
It's a
cinematic
visual.
way. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a very
yeah.
visual medium because that's kind of all you got.
That's the only thing you got. It's just so interesting. Like
Mhm.
yeah, like it's cropped up now in like 2 movies this year, 2 Best Picture nominations.
Yeah. There's
very
always like a
interesting.
link. I feel like there's a link between each of these movies.
Yeah, I feel like
Somehow.
family.
Family. Anyway, so she picks a much different part of the play from anyone else, which is the scene where Uncle Vanya like steals the morphine and try to kill himself.
hmm
She's like, "Give it back, give it back." I mean, she doesn't say that. She signs it.
Right.
And like she does a pretty good job. And there you go.
She's a really good actor.
Yeah, she's good. She's
Yeah.
good in this. Real good.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else is it? So then they come back and they're like, not many additions to the part of Vanya because they assume Yusuke is going to be playing it.
Right.
And then next day, everyone passes the audition.
Hooray.
Takasugi gets Vanya, and he's very weirded out by this. He's like, but Vanya's like old. He's like, you can wear prosthetics or
Yeah.
makeup. It's fine. No one cares. Doesn't matter. And everyone's gonna be wearing makeup anyway, and everyone's like excitedly signing their contract. But he's like delays a little bit because like he was working like as a heartthrob and all that stuff beforehand. So doing this is a lot different for him. And he's like, I
Yes.
don't know if I want to do that.
It's also
but
like the main guy,
yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and you're playing an old man, which is a
Yeah.
lot.
which is difficult for a guy who wasn't really known for his acting ability. He was
Exactly.
really more known for as like a face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is an interesting choice.
Do they go into his history at all, other than him knowing?
A little bit. I'll get to
two?
it, but
Okay.
I did not know about the acting part though. About
Yeah.
that he wasn't a good actor.
Yeah, not really. He's more like a television actor.
Okay, so
Yeah.
very like Korean or very like yeah, like K-drama stuff, like or obviously Japanese drama because
Yeah,
you can't speak Korean. But you know, like sort of like soap opera type stuff.
Sort of like that thing. Yeah.
Okay, so he goes out to the driver and like waiting on the code. Like, aren't you cold? And she's like, no, I'm not cold. And it's like, well, you can go inside in the car if you want to. He's like, no, I don't want to. I know you're very picky about your car. She's like, I insist you do it. She's like, well, I smoke. He's like, just do it outside. It's fine.
Aha, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
That's the only thing I've heard mentioned about smoking.
okay.
So then, Yusuke gets asked by Takasugi to get a drink, and Takasugi like reveals while they're drinking. I feel so bad for the driver because he's always like, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna be late." And she's like, "It's fine, whatever." So
All that
Takasugi,
kind of comes into play a little
I'm
bit.
imagining so.
Yeah.
I'm imagining so.
Yeah.
Takasugi then seeked out Yusuke because apparently of Otto screenplays. Like he
Otto
really,
screenplays,
he
yeah.
really liked working on them,
Yes.
and he says,
Well, working on other things
Hey,
too.
hey! He liked the extracurricular activities. So then, he says they're not similar. They're not the same type of projects, but they're similar to him. Like they have the same feel to him, even though they're different. Like the way you direct and the way she writes things, it's very similar. And I'm really, really into that stuff.
Right.
It's like, okay, interesting. And he starts asking him like, so you like banging a lot of people, huh? She's like, yeah. I mean, he's like, well, I was framed for banging people, and that's why I work as a freelancer now. Which I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder if that's something in Japan where like you should be signed with a studio and like TV. You can, like where most people here, I feel like.
Do you want me to tell
freelance.
you?
Yes, please.
It was revealed that he was dating a minor.
Oh. Okay.
And so
That still doesn't explain the freelance part.
well,
though.
no, the freelancing is he left his like representation because of that whole incident.
Got it.
So he's working as a freelancer in quotes because he's not being represented by anybody.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Okay. Not great. And
this is something that is revealed late in my half of the
it's funny
movie.
because he's also like, oh, so you just like banging people if you barely know him? He's like, yeah, it's great. More people should do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay. It's like in Yusuke's like, you loved Odo, didn't you? He's like, yeah, I did. I liked her, and I was jealous of you, to be honest. And he's shocked. And then someone takes a picture of Takasuki, and he freaks out, and just like, what the fuck? You delete that right now. Starts to get like in their face, and Yusuke's like, I'm gonna go home. This is weird.
I really love how you represent Yusuke. That's his name, right?
Yusuke, yeah.
Yusuke, because like you make him seem like, oh gosh, oh golly, and it's really more like, I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah,
Like-
you're right.
But I like your interpretation a lot.
He's got that's if I was in the situation.
Yeah.
And I had the same demeanor, which is, but I'm just like, I'm gonna go.
I'm
Bye.
gonna head out.
But he's just like,
awkward.
yeah, I'm definitely.
That's the American version of this movie.
Yeah. Oh, you're dating a minor? Awkward.
Whoopsies.
Whoopsies. Oh, I didn't know.
Exit stage left.
I was framed. Did that actually happen?
So that happened. God, the American version of this movie would fucking
I
suck.
mean, obviously, if it was like animated, but I mean, I feel like an American director would be fine.
Yeah.
But yes, an animated version would be pretty.
Random face palm, somebody farts, end of trailer. Anyway, sorry. So
Drive my car fast. That'd be the name of it. And it would be only an hour and a half.
yeah, that's right. But the opening title card would still appear 40 minutes into the movie. Some reason.
It'd be great if they just condensed that into one line.
Yeah.
That whole 40 minutes just in like a little like title card. No, it would be I'm Yusuke and this is my life. I had Otto and I
had
loved
a
her.
beautiful wife until something awful happened.
I got in a car accident and that was weird, but it doesn't matter because before then I saw my wife banging some young hot guy.
Yeah, that's me.
That's me smoking a cigarette in my car or out of my car.
I bet you're what. By the way, remember, kids, smoking's bad. Anyway.
Bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an awful film that would be.
Anyway, so next day, people are over doing the reads, and like, he wants no one to read anything with emotion or anything, like no one to act. And like, one of the ladies asked, like, all right, you should probably tell us your intentions, Yusuke. Maybe we can like learn. He's like, I don't want you to learn. I just want you to read the lines right now. Just read the lines. And then let's see. So Uni invites Yusuke over for dinner.
Yes.
While they're driving, and he's like,
coming.
oh, now you know we're coming.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to apologize for something. He's like, what do you want to apologize for? You'll know when you get there. So he gets there, and he invites Yusuke and the driver in, and it's revealed that the lady with the sign language, the Korean sign language, is his wife, who signed up for the audition.
Whose wife?
Uni's wife. The guy with the hair.
Okay. I thought you were sorry. Okay, I understand.
Would you think I was saying like it was Yusuke's wife?
Yeah, I was like, No.
No. He's revealing this to Yusuke.
I see. Okay.
And like they start eating. Food looks so good. And then he basically reveals like, or she reveals that like, yeah, I didn't want to like get special treatment or anything.
She
like,
wouldn't have too. She's a good actor. She would
Yeah,
have gotten hired.
I just want to do that. And like,
Yeah.
apparently Uni like learns sign language to understand her.
That's
and like
cute.
she's from Korea, and they both moved, and she was like very brave to move because they don't know anyone in Hiroshima. Like, they were gonna try to have a baby, but she had a miscarriage, and that like ended her dancing career, which is what she used to do. So she felt really like isolated. So she wanted to audition as a way to like get into the art again.
Yeah.
And it's like, is the reading hard at all for you? Like, do you have trouble with that? And she's like, no, I'm used to people not understanding my words. Like, it's something I'm used to. It's fine. And says sometimes I can understand more than words though. So I wonder if that comes into play.
Interesting.
Then Yusuke Uni asks like, "Hey, how's your driver, Yusuke?" And Yusuke's like, "Oh, she's like honestly one of the best drivers I ever had. Like, I sometimes forget I'm in a car, and then she like gets up slowly and just goes and pets the dog, and I'm like, it's really weird because you don't know where she's getting up and going.
Yeah,
And it's just like just to pet the dog. And I'm like, hell
that
yeah.
dog is very important.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's the most important thing in the whole movie.
Oh really? Okay. This is the
Because
Chekhov's
it's
dog.
adorable. Yeah, Chekhov's dog.
So yeah, and he's like, wow, you compliment. Oh, so she goes, wow, you compliment her more than any of us, the actors. Maybe you can pass some of those compliments to us in a joking
Damn.
way.
Yeah.
He's like, ha ha ha, and then my end half.
Right. So they're driving home, and this is where I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, what is going on?
What's going on? Why is this guy in a car? Who's this driver? And she's like, hey, can I go to some of your rehearsals? And he's like,
Who? The driver?
the driver
Interesting.
is like, hey, can I go to the rehearsals? And he's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then Watari, the driver, is like, hey, I'm gonna put on the tape again. So she puts the tape on, and we hear like speaking, and I'm like, what is this tape? And then it's this is where we learn it's the voice of Yusuke's wife.
Yeah, Odo. Yeah.
Odo. And then he's like, and then he repeats the line he said earlier, I forget that I'm in the car and that you're here. He's like, I meant that as like a compliment. He says, basically. He's like, I meant that.
It's interesting he keeps listening to it despite not being in the play at all.
But here's the thing: is he's like, you don't have to listen. She's like, I like this too.
Okay.
So the both of them really like listening to the. I think it's sort of like missing her voice.
Yeah.
I know that's the thing a lot of people deal with, like when loved ones die,
Yeah.
not having like audio or video recording of the people, so you sort of forget. So anyway, so he's like, you are a really good driver. Like he says that to her, and she's like, well, you see, I learned to drive when I was in junior high because my mom worked at a nightclub, and she liked sleeping on the way to and from the nightclub, and it was an hour drive. So I had to learn how to drive really steadily because if she woke up going to her job or coming back, she would beat me.
Oh,
and that's why she is like super like nervous about like
that makes sense.
being
That's
like nervous.
You know, it's a trial by fire that you probably shouldn't go through.
No, and like Yusuke's like shocked by all.
Yeah,
this.
like that sucks.
He's like, oh my god, it's awful. But then Watari says like, I'm grateful that I learned, even though this lesson benefited my mom. I'm grateful that she taught me.
Right.
And so it's clear that she has a very complicated relationship with her mom. So, on the way to rehearsals the next day, we see a car, and there's a couple in the car, and I didn't know who the couple was originally, and they're just sort of like looking at Yusuke, and I'm like, why are they looking at him? Like, what's going on? But I realize now it's actually, God, who are it's the younger girl in the play, and Takasuki.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
They seem to talk. Takasugi. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure is how you pronounce it. Yeah, because right by the end of my half, they were like kind of like talking to each other a bit,
Even though they can't speak the same language.
Yeah.
And so now they're driving to rehearsals together.
Which is how Uni also got with his life. We didn't speak the same language either.
That's a good point. So they're driving. He's driving technically. Takasuki sees the guy, the director, gets very nervous and sort of like speeds ahead to sort of like, oh, I hope he didn't see me. And then they get in a car accident.
Oh no!
They don't die. They don't get hurt.
Right.
But it makes them late and it makes it super obvious who it is too. And it makes them late for rehearsals.
You know, I have to say, one refreshing thing in a movie is just to have minor car accidents.
It's
I
so
feel like
great.
it never happens, right?
Like
Like
if a
every
car
time
accident happens, people are
it's dead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's just instant death.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Or
No.
someone's like in the hospital for a few days. It's like always a plot device. While this is like a very subtle, like, oh, this is how you find out about a medical condition.
This is just a fender bender.
or just something
making you late
happens. Yeah,
for
it makes you late.
work.
Whatever. Makes just a little character quirk.
It is funny though because this is the reason that they didn't want the director driving.
Yeah,
remember?
that's true.
So anyway, they get to the auditions late, and then they're like, okay, now Yusuke's like, you
I
have to.
wondered why he didn't have a car or driver. Because I remember that because he's like, hey, I'll pick you up to go to get drinks. And
It
I'm
seems like it's only for the director.
weird.
Yeah. So anyway, they get in late. Yusuke's like, all right, like let's do a scene. They do a scene, and it's awful.
Oh.
Even the lady. I cannot remember. her
I
name.
don't know her name. She's just there. She's
The younger lady.
There's another. Oh, the younger lady. I'm sorry. There's like a third director type person who's just there, never says a word.
Oh,
like
yeah,
she only
she's not.
introduced like the policies. And that was it.
Yeah, no. So the younger lady that Takasuki is like going out with now, seeing, even though they don't speak the same language. She's like, yeah, that was bad. I'm sorry. Like, I admit we didn't do very good here. I think it's because I can't understand what he's saying. I think I need to learn what the dialogue is. And so they're like, let's go read through the book again. And she's like, can I record this, like this, so that I can learn the speech patterns? And he's like, yeah, sure. So then they are leaving, and Takasuki comes up to the director and is like, hey, I'm really sorry about what happened today. And he's like, be careful. Like, he's like, don't be so childish. Like, you have to be more respectful. And he's also, the guy's like, look, I just wanted to like lend an ear to her. And then and Yusuke's like, you can't understand her. She can't understand you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you clearly weren't there to talk to her.
Yeah.
You're clearly there to have sex.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say all that. He's basically, it's all in his eyes. And he's just like, be careful.
The guy that plays Yusuke, just, you could tell exactly what he's thinking at all times.
He's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, what an incredible actor. And he speaks different languages. Like, wow, just amazing. So he's like, have a good judgment. Then he leaves. Yusuke and Watari drive around Hiroshima for a bit because he doesn't really know the area yet. And so she takes him to like a dump where they like get rid of waste. And there's one part where they're like dropping trash. And Watari's like, it reminds me of snow. And I'm like, that's interesting. And it comes into play later. So then she reveals that her mom died 5 years ago.
Whose mom?
Watari's mom.
Got it.
Died 5 years ago. The driver's mom.
The abusive one. Yep.
The abusive mom died 5 years ago in a landslide.
Oh.
Yeah, they were.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were both in the house together, and then some like debris came, completely destroyed the house, and Watari was able to escape, and that's why she has the scar on her face.
Oh.
And she says, you know, I was 18 at the time. All I could do was drive, so I drove all the way to Hiroshima. My car broke down, so I drove garbage trucks. And she also says that she never knew her father. We also learned their names. So Kafuku is how I labeled Yusuke. His name apparently translates to house or good luck. And his wife, Oto, means sound. So when Oto married Kafuku, her full name was Oto Kafuku, which apparently is house of the gospel. And then he reveals that she died of a cerebral hemorrhage. This is the first time that that Watari learns this, and she's like, is the tape creepy to you now? And she's like, no, not really. And she even says, like, you take care of your car and you treat it with care, and that's why I love to drive it. And I'm like, ooh, very interesting. It's also like the idea of like he treats this object with care. It's really the thing he was in before he saw his wife die of an internal brain hemorrhage. He takes care of the tape. Like, he's clearly holding on to things and taking care of them, and she respects that. So there's a rehearsal in the park. The acting between the lady who speaks sign language and the young lady who earlier wasn't very good is incredible. And it's so good that what's his name, Takasuki, is incredibly self-conscious, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing in this play.
Why am I here? Why was I cast this way?
So him and the director is, oh god damn it, what's his name? Yusuke. Him and Yusuke go out to drink because they want to discuss like, why is he even in this part? He's not built for this. And Yusuke is like, oh, you know, you and Oto brought me to you. Oto brought me to you. And he's like, stop joking. Like, I'm being honest here. Why is it that I'm in this part? And he says, look, you can't control yourself. And that's not a good thing as a person, but that's a great thing as an actor. Because you can give yourself over to your fellow castmates. Right. And he's like, what I'm asking you to do is give yourself over to the text. And Takasugi's like, I don't know what that means. And it's just like, this is where it sort of feels like he's not really a good actor as far as like being able to like rip the text apart and become a part of it. He has really good instincts on stage.
Yeah.
And so he's like, and he says this really great line. He's like, the director says, the text is questioning you, respond to it. And I'm like, I almost feel like that's the writer director of the film telling us, like, this is trying to get at you, respond to the story itself. You know, I'm making this little meditative film for you, like, respond to that. But here's the thing is, like, Takasugi still doesn't understand. He's like, I don't understand what you're asking from me. And he also says, like, I am like a hollow, empty person. Like, I don't know how to respond to text. I only know how to like act. So they are leaving.
Like his whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're leaving the bar, and as they're leaving the bar, we catch another. For me, it's the first person taking photos of Takasuki.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they're leaving the bar, Yusuke is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go pay for the drinks," and the driver's like, "I'm gonna go pay for the car." And so Takasuki just like runs off towards the direction of the guy taking photos, and then the director and the driver converge, and they're like, "Where is Takasuki?" And then eventually he comes back like a minute later. He's like, "All right, let's get out of here." So then they get in the car and drive off. I'm like, "Oh, that's very interesting. What a very interesting thing that just happened."
Yeah.
So they're in the car, and Takasuki finally reveals, he's like, "Look, the reason I'm working with you is because I miss Oto so much. And I thought that by working with you, I could get the same vibes that I got from her script, but I'm not.
Damn.
I'm not getting the same thing.
He lied.
It's not happening."
Yeah, he was just hopeful, I guess.
So here comes the biggest scene. This is the scene I think I wrote the most notes about.
Okay.
All right.
Exciting.
They're in the car together. It's night. They're driving back.
Of course, it's going to take place in the car.
Of course. And they're driving back to Takasuki's place. And so this is when it's revealed to me that Yusuke's child died when she was 4, would be 23 at this date right now. That was a dark time in their relationship. So Yusuke and Oto started having sex. And after they had sex, Oto would write scripts, or she would tell stories to Yusuke. And the next morning, after in the moment of orgasm, Oto would have an entire story in her mind.
Oh.
And right after and this is shit you saw, she would then tell these stories to Yusuke, and the next morning she would not remember them and would ask Yusuke what happened, and Yusuke would tell her the story, and she would write them down in a script. And that's how she wrote her screenplays.
Glad you wrote a lot about that, because, okay, that makes sense.
Right, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very weird that he was like, I don't remember that one.
And then he's like, but here's the thing. She needed inspiration, and so she would go and sleep around with other guys.
Oh, okay. So he was already aware of this.
He was totally aware.
Okay.
He's like, I knew it happened. But here's the thing. I didn't know that he knew that Takasuki did this. And I also didn't know that Takasuki did this. And so we're just looking at him, and his eyes are all wide and like watery, like he's about to be revealed. And as he's saying this, he's like, yeah, Oto went out with all these other guys, like multiple men. He actually specifies multiple men, which I think was to make Takasuki jealous.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
And so, special. But then after this big monologue, he's like, do you have any evidence of this ever happening? And at first I'm like, why would he say that? But it's because he's worried that he's been found out. Because he doesn't know that that
Yusuke walked in.
Right.
Yeah.
So now he's getting nervous. And so then Yusuke is like, I saw them. She would bring them home. But I know that she loved me more than anything. And I know that she did this because she needed to for her stories. And I knew that our bond was so strong, but I could never talk to her about it because I didn't want the balance to be broken, like you said earlier.
Right.
I knew what we had was good, and I didn't want it to be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Takasuki says, how do you know that she didn't want to talk to you about it?
Oof.
And then he says, Yusuke says, did she tell you something?
Oh, got your ass.
And then here's where I'm like, oh, fucking shit. Then Takasuki says, may I tell you a story that she told me? And it was just revealed she only tells stories after having sex. So I'm like, oh, fucking shit. I am caught up now. I am all in. What the fuck's going on? So he's like, it's a very mysterious story. It's about a girl who sneaks into the room. And Yusuke's like, I've already heard the story. It's a very mysterious ending. Somebody comes into the room after she's masturbating. The girl's in the boys' room masturbating. Somebody comes home. We don't know who it is. He already knows the ending. It's a mysterious ending because we don't know who comes in the house, but he already knows the ending. But Takasuki says that's not the ending.
Oh,
there's more.
Oh,
and only Takasuki knows this.
Oh shit!
And so he's like, somebody did come home, and it wasn't the mom, it wasn't the dad, it wasn't the boy, it was a burglar. And he comes in, sees the girl masturbating, tries to rape her. She kills the burglar.
Oh.
And she's nervous because now there's a dead body in this boy's room.
Yeah.
And so she showers, gets the blood off, and leaves the corpse. And that is her present now. She's left all these things in his room, and now the corpse is the present. But she's racked with guilt. The next morning, she's like, at school, I'm going to tell the boy what happened. I'm going to reveal to him what I did because I can't live with this. But when she goes to school, she sees that the boy isn't acting any different. She sees that the boy is just as carefree and happy as always. So then she's like, what the fuck is going on? So then she goes to the house, as she's done many times before, and it doesn't seem any different, but she walks by because now she knows like something, like people might see her.
Right.
So she walks by and she sees that there's only one thing that's different. Everything, it all seems normal. The only thing that's different now is there's a security camera out in front of the house now. And she realizes after everything she's done, the only change now is the security camera outside the house. That's the only thing that's different, is that someone is now looking, but nothing can happen to her. Like nothing will actually befall her. And this has not affected the boy whatsoever.
Okay.
And so she goes up to the security camera and she looks dead in the camera. And remember, this is all narrated by Takasuki. So he's looking at Yutsuke, telling us the story, and he says she just looks dead in the camera and repeats, I killed him. I killed him. I killed him.
Oh.
And that's how it ends.
That's the end of the movie?
No.
Oh, okay. That would be crazy. That'd be fucking nuts.
That is not. No.
I forgot this movie's very long.
It's very long. So then he says, when Oto gave me that story, it felt like she was giving me something important. And he says, you can't look into the heart of the person you love. You can only look deep into your own heart and accept who you are. Because if you look in the heart of the person you love, you'll only find heartbreak. And then they drop him off. And then Yutsuke and Watari smoke in the car. And they're holding their cigarettes out the sunroof. I'm like, hell yeah, I got that scene. So next day, they're doing a dress rehearsal. And
Man, that's some Nier Automata shit.
yep. And Takasuki is putting on an incredible performance. It's like a dress rehearsal. He's killing it. He's giving it his all. And Yutsuke is so fucking proud of him. It's like, good job, man. You're doing it. You finally are working with it.
Figuring it out.
And then all of a sudden, police show up.
Uh-oh.
And they're like, hi, is that Takasuki? Can we get the microphone? So they get the microphone. They're like, Takasuki, you're under arrest. You beat a man to death yesterday.
Oh, man.
He died in the hospital. You're going to prison.
Oh.
And Takasuki smiles with like a calm satisfaction. And he's like, yep, I did that. And then they take him off. And this is fucking crazy because he just fucking murdered a guy and then tells the story about a little girl murdering a burglar and looks dead in the face of Yusuke and is like, I killed him. Like he's basically like just confessed to this to somebody who doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Just like,
yeah,
like the day earlier. It's fucking nuts. And so now he can't perform as Uncle Vanya.
No.
So he's in jail. And now the producer's like, even worse news. We got to cancel the play.
Even worse. A man died.
A
you know
man
what's
died.
worse?
A man is in jail, but we have to cancel the play. And she's like, we're either gonna cancel the play or
New Vanya.
You have to be Uncle Vanya.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to be Uncle Vanya. And she's like, well, then we got to cancel the play. And he's like, give me a couple days to think about it. And she's like, all right. So they walk off, and then he's like, I need somewhere peaceful to think. And so
it's the car.
Yes. And so he gets in the car, and the driver's like, where do you want me to take you? And he's like, take me to the village that you grew up in. She's like, it's really far away. He's like, let's go. And she's like, there's not going to be anything there. And he's like, perfect. It's peaceful. So they're going to drive. It's going to take about a day and a half to get there.
That's a road trip.
And yeah. And she's like, I can drive an entire day without falling asleep. And he's
cool
like,
flex.
I know, right? Well, he's like, can I help drive? And she's like, no, only I drive. That's my job. Since I drive. And so they're driving and driving and driving. And finally, out of the silence, they start talking to each other again. And he says, so he starts opening up about when Oto died.
Mm-hmm.
This is shit you don't fucking know.
Oh, shit.
Are you ready for this? So the day Oto died.
Oh my God, the second half of the movie has stuff I don't know.
I know. She said that she wanted to talk when he got home. And
I didn't know that.
And he was like, I don't want to go home.
I didn't know that.
So when he was in the car listening to tapes and shit, he was actively avoiding going home.
That's
he
true.
was supposed to get home early.
No, he was in the apartment complex, just sitting there doing nothing.
Yes. He didn't want to go home. And the thing is, if he had gotten home earlier, when he should have, he could have saved her.
Oof.
She wouldn't have died of the cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh.
By doing nothing, he caused her death, and he feels like he killed her.
Oh, That guilt though.
And then the driver's like, I killed my mother. And then he's like, what? And then she's like, so when the house was destroyed, I crawled out and I could have saved her. But I didn't. I stood there and then the house collapsed. And that's when she died. So
okay. These are all like...
But here's the thing. You're right. Both of these are like, you didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Is they're like, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
We could have done something and we didn't.
Could have tried. Both cowards.
They're both, and there's this really great moment where Yusuke's like, if I was your father, I would hug you and tell you that everything's going to be okay and it's not your fault, but I'm not your father. And he says, you killed your mother and I killed my wife. And Watari's like, yes. And that's just the end of that scene. So they get...
I like how you say the end of that scene because I'm like, see that movie?
No, I'm gonna make sure not to... I don't want to give you any hints here. So then they arrive at the village. It's snowing. And now, here's the thing about the movie. Wall-to-wall, beautiful sound design.
Oh, I love the sound of this movie.
Atmospheric.
Oh, God. All the Foley work in this. Fucking
incredible.
Put you in the zone.
They get to the village. Silence. Complete, deafening silence. Not even car noise. Complete silence. It's also snowing. It's almost like there's no atmosphere. They arrive in the spot where Watari's house used to be, and she brought flowers. And she says, here's the other thing about my mom. She had a split personality. It was a little girl, and whenever my mom would beat me, this little girl would appear, and we'd play together. Whenever my mother was too drunk, she would cry, and she was my best friend. But when my mom was in the house, I had to choose between my awful mom and my best friend, and I chose to let them both die.
Damn.
And she's like, the thing about it is even if she wasn't like mentally like unhealthy, even if she was just like acting that way, that was coming from her heart, and she wanted to act that way. And it's like, it's so tragic to see Watari try to make her mom seem like a better person. You know, like ultimately her mom was a bad person. But like Watari's like trying to look on the bright side of things, like because she's been abused for so long in her life, you know. And so, you know, she throws flowers essentially on a grave that doesn't exist because it's just rubble.
Right.
And she goes up to the director. I can never fucking remember his name. Yusuke goes up to Yusuke and is like, look, what if your wife wasn't mysterious? What if she loved you and wanted to have sex with other men? Maybe those two things aren't contradictory. Maybe that's just the way she is.
A lot of people do that. That's fine.
But here's the thing is, I see this as like, and I think this is what the movie's also showing, is like Watari is a deeply broken person who's willing to give the benefit of the doubt for awful people. And I think Yusuke sees this and is like, you're trying to make me feel better, but you're only making my wife seem like a worse person. You know, like your view of people is so broken and misshapen because of your upbringing that like you are trying to make my wife appear like, you know, whatever. So then he starts fucking bawling. Yusuke, he's just like, look, I missed out on an uncomfortable, hurtful, real moment. And by doing that, I caused my wife to die. And if I had just lived through this painful moment, she would be alive today. And that's what I wish she was. But she's not, because I couldn't face the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And then the both of them hug each other, and it's fucking beautiful because it's clear they needed it. And he says, we keep thinking about the dead, but we must keep living. And then he performs this Uncle Vanya. The play ends with the woman speaking sign language. And she does this really cool thing where she's speaking to him at first, where they're like at a table, and she's across from the table signing at him. And then she gets up and puts her arms around him as she's sitting, and she's signing, but it's like she's signing at the audience. And Yusuke is around her arms, and so it's almost like he's signing. And it's this really beautiful moment, and she's saying like, apparently I think it's the end of the play where she's basically saying like, look man, fucking life sucks sometimes, bro, but you know what, it won't always suck, and I believe one day things will be good and peaceful, and that day will rest. And it's a beautiful moment. Lights go out, applause from the audience. Hard cut to Watari shopping for groceries, middle of COVID. She's wearing a mask. There's got plastic between like her and the person behind the counter. And she gets in the red car. It's her car now. And in the car, it's a fucking dog.
Nice.
It's a fucking dog. And she pets that dog.
Is it the same dog?
No, it's a different dog. But it's a similar dog.
Yeah.
And then she takes off the mask, and she's gotten her scar removed.
Huh.
She's gotten it sort of like lessened
Right.
because she's healed now, and she drives off, and the movie is over.
Wow. That's a good movie.
Great film.
Good movie.
Good movie.
Also, one thing I want to touch on. I mean, you probably figured this out, but like, it's set in Hiroshima,
Yeah.
and they go to a place, and clearly it's been rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the moral of the story is, you know, people break down. You could have the war. Like, Yusuke had a pretty shitty, like, last couple months.
Oh yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty awful.
Years.
Yeah, a couple years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's just like, can you rebuild for something so awful? And the fact that they also, the main, like, kind of climax of the movie of the two characters takes place at a place that's snowing,
Mm-hmm.
and a place that's full of rubble.
Yeah.
It's like, I could see the parallels here. It's a very intentional choice to set it
So
there.
apparently it wasn't originally supposed to be in Hiroshima, but because of the COVID pandemic, they had to film there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which I think is actually, you're right. I think it gives
think
a
it
little
works.
bit more. Yeah, it works really well. I fucking love this movie. I knew I was going to like it, and I loved
It's
it.
funny because, like, I was like, fuck, man, I don't know if I could take, like, a prestigious, like, hour and a half movie just by myself. Probably helped that I watched the first half.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I wasn't bored. I was
Yeah.
never like, oh my God, I gotta see what happens next. I was just kind of like peacefully like,
You were
Yeah,
meditating.
all
in it.
right.
Yeah.
all right, let's see where this goes. Like,
Yeah.
it's something about the cadence of the way
The editing, I think,
editing and the
is.
directing is
Yeah.
of these actors, and I guess just the realistic portrayal of like,
Like grief.
well, grief, and just also, I guess, I think the main character Yusuke is just an incredible actor, and it's just like, you know, you follow him anywhere, really.
Yeah. Just look in his eyes.
Just looking at him and just seeing him and just
I wanna
being
see him
like
in more
someone who's just
shit.
being like someone who's just sucking up and taking the burden,
Yeah.
but also like being a coward at the same time.
Yeah. Without really
Diving
going
into
over the
why.
top.
Yeah, also you never know he's the coward, right?
No,
Like you're just
yeah.
like, oh, he was sitting in the place,
Yeah.
and I guess he got up there and she was dead. You didn't like it never explained in my half like
But that's what I love about the movie too. It's like so much. So here's the thing about watching my half of the movie. I'll reveal this to the audience. I tried watching this movie 3 times, and each time I fell asleep about halfway through my half because it's so calming.
it's a very peaceful movie.
But the thing is so I watched my half. And I remember I was pretty bored because it's just 2 people in a car.
yeah,
It's very
that's
calming.
the thing. Is the second half
I don't know
is
the context.
tougher to get through.
But the minute I saw it a second and third time and I got a little more context, I was like, oh shit, this scene is just dripping with intrigue and like tension.
Well, you didn't know any of the beginning half.
No,
either.
exactly.
So I think now that I revealed that, it probably also heightened your like,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
let's go, baby.
Absolutely. And what I love about it, so like, you know, I think so. Like even just looking at the story, the way the story is told about who's the actor Takasuki, right? When he's first introduced to my half, you're like, this guy isn't that good of an actor. And then he's like, look, I was down and out. That's why I actually like went out for this role. It's because I needed work.
Right.
You know, that's what he's saying. And you're like, why was he down and out? And then later on it's revealed like, oh, you know, you can't control yourself. It's
Yeah.
like, what's that about? And then it's like slow reveal to the very final reveal at the very end of the movie where it's like, oh, he's a bastard.
Yeah.
He's now a murderer and he was an abuser.
Yeah.
And it's like all of that is so subtly slow.
Yeah, you're right.
Over
Like
time.
that's just one example of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's just one
kind of
character.
like the whole every character, like every of the main 3 characters. I
Yeah.
feel like there's the 3 main characters there, and they're in the car,
Yes.
and it does just slowly like give you little breadcrumbs as you go through, and that's why you can kind of. That's why I was just kind of vibing the whole time.
Yeah.
I wasn't like bored
Yeah.
in my half because I was just like, okay, yeah, this movie's really slow, but it's like leading you along. It's like, come with me on this car drive. I'm gonna lead you to a destination that you're gonna really like, but
Yeah.
along the way, I'm gonna keep telling you little bits about what this destination's gonna be like and where
Every
we're
so
gonna get
often.
here.
And it's like I think too, like we mentioned how the play is everyone speaking different languages to each
Yeah.
other, and they can only really understand each other through like.
Did you
bodies.
reveal why he made that choice?
I mean, he doesn't go into it, but I
Okay.
think it's due to like the idea of this whole like because like the other thing about the movie is you don't really know a person.
Right.
You know, Yusuke was married to a woman for 20 years, and he doesn't know why she was cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
He could only come up with explanations for himself.
Never
But
asked.
ultimately, he doesn't really know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even, you know, it's sort of like there's something deep within every person that you'll never understand. There's something deep within a person that you'll never know, you'll never see. And it's like
you'll never be able to fully connect with someone.
Right. And it's like I think having all these actors performing in different languages on stage for this play is like important because it's like that's a good like explanation or representation of how it's really hard to really communicate with people, you know? Like when it's revealed that Watari learned how to drive because of her abusive mom, you could never have learned that, oh, also she had like a mental disability possibly. And,
right.
Oh yeah, she fucking died. You know, like all this shit is like subtext and it's all on the actor's face,
That's
but
the
none
thing.
of it's revealed.
Yeah.
In that moment,
And also
you
you can make clear assumptions like, oh, she beat her kid, bad person. And then it's like, yes, overall, yes, you're right. But there's a little more nuance to that.
Especially to her, to the daughter.
To the person who actually faced the abuse.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And that informs more about that character.
You can't just say like, oh, wife cheat bad.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
well, she did it for reasons. And he also went along with it. Like he was clearly known about this.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
Like,
and it's also the story about the girl who like masturbates in the room and is never caught and never deals with the consequences is clearly her reaching out and going like, I am cheating on men and my husband's not telling me about it.
No
Why?
one's telling me, but they watch.
But they watch and they aren't doing anything.
I'm basically admitting it.
And this is how it must feel to her, right?
Yeah.
And like
she's
that's
getting away with something and it's like, I should feel consequences.
Right. And like, it's like maybe and that's the thing is like, he's such a coward because he can't fucking talk to her about it. And it's like, that is causing her so much anxiety and stress as well, which is like, obviously what she's doing is a bad thing, but it's like, she knows that murdering a guy is a bad thing too. Obviously in that story, he's also a fucking like awful burglar rapist guy. But it's like, the girl felt like she was doing a bad thing and was never caught.
I mean,
for
she
it.
was. She was breaking into
She was
someone's
also
house.
breaking in and
That's bad.
leaving weird shit in the room. But he's just like, I don't know. Like that story is like so important. Like that whole scene is like for me is the crux of that the entire film. It's fucking amazing, and it's so minimal because it's literally like a reverse shot in a car. You know, it's all it is. And like, there's this really great moment where the camera at first is in between Yusuke and what is it? What's his name again? Takashi? Takasuki.
Takasuki, yeah.
Takasuki, Yusuke. It's in between them, and it's also including the driver. But then, when it becomes more about Otto, and it becomes more about their relationship between the two of them, the camera moves to exclude the driver. And now it's just these two talking to each other.
Smart.
And it's like very minor,
subtle.
Very subtle, but so effective.
Great when you watch it the third time. No, I'm kidding.
Genuinely, yes. Good film, man. All around. Great film.
Yeah.
Loved
Who knew?
it.
This Oscar movie that no one heard of is like nominated and it's like, oh man, pretty good. Pretty good.
I'd recommend. Would you recommend? It's on HBO Max now, guys.
I think it's good, but you got to go in with the right mindset.
That's
like,
true.
I feel like you got to be ready.
Put the day off. Don't be too tired.
Yeah, don't
Have
be too
some
sleepy
coffee.
because it is a very soothing movie.
It is a very calming film.
I didn't get sleepy during it.
I did.
But I also just don't fall asleep during movies.
So now of all the movies that we talked
now
about,
we can. I don't think we should rank them.
No, not yet.
No, we
gotta wait
got a
till
whole
the next
other
episode?
podcast to rank them.
All right.
Because we got to rank all of them, baby.
That's right. 'cause we've seen
Every
all of
single
them.
one.
So guys, check out our next episode where we're gonna rank every single Oscar movie that we've seen this year.
Yep.
But if you want to check those out, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it on the show no matter what it says, even if it's dripping with subtext and has a Chekhov's gun in it.
Ooh, please. Ooh,
Please
send us one of
do.
those. That'd be great.
That'd be great.
I'd love that.
You can also email us at emailtheotherpodcast.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk about all these different Oscar movies. I really enjoyed this one. These last two were really good.
Yeah. we felt like we ordered the list and like we probably like the last two the most.
And we
probably.
did.
Yeah.
We did.
Would you let someone drive your car? Would you like let a
No.
random person drive your car?
No.
I drove
I
your car.
love driving my car.
But I drove your car once.
You did.
Yeah.
But you were not a random person.
That's true.
You
good
know what?
point.
I only let someone drive my car if I was too drunk to drive.
Ah, yes.
There you go. What about you? Would you let a random person drive your car?
Oh yeah. I don't care.
No?
No. Oh yeah. I would.
Oh, wow.
Why not?
Can I drive your car?
Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Getting out of here. Good night, everybody.
Fuck. Come back.